I didn't invite my parents or brother to my wedding because they always put him first. Now he's admitted he faked his illness for attention. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Hey everyone, I'm a 28-year-old woman who just got married to my husband, Jamie, who's 29. We decided not to invite my parents or my brother, Neil, who's 25. I wasn't planning on mentioning all this, but my phone's been blowing up with messages from family calling me selfish, so I really need an outside perspective on whether I messed up. Here's some background. I grew up in what seemed like a typical middle-class family in the suburbs, about an hour away from Chicago. We had a 4-bedroom house, a decent backyard, and took family trips to nearby states. Everything went downhill when I was 9 and Neil was diagnosed with asthma at 7. It wasn't a severe case, but from then on, our household was all about him. My parents totally shifted focus and he became their world, leaving my achievements mostly unnoticed. When I performed a piano solo at 12, after months of practice, my parents bailed last minute because Neil supposedly had an asthma attack. Turns out, he was fine, playing video games, and his attack disappeared magically after my recital. At 16, my grandparents flew in to celebrate my birthday. My parents were supposed to get the cake and decorations but spent the day with Neil at urgent care for what ended up being mild allergies. My grandparents saved the day with pizza and a generic cake. Neil ended up eating most of my custom cake in the hospital. They missed my high school graduation too, where I was valedictorian, because Neil had a panic attack over finals that weren't happening for another week. My best friend's family had to step in to celebrate my big day with me. College was tough. Unlike my classmates, I had no financial support from my family. I worked 2 jobs to pay for school, balancing studying and work around the clock. Despite all this, I kept a 4.0 GPA and pursued a master's with loans and scholarships because my family couldn't, or wouldn't, help. Even when I graduated, they skipped the ceremony due to another of Neil's supposedly urgent health needs, only for him to later post party pics, looking perfectly fine. 4 years ago, I met Jamie at a conference. He's from a big, loving family that celebrates each other's successes. For my first birthday with him, he threw me a surprise party with friends and family, which made me cry because no one had ever done something like that for me. His family has been incredibly welcoming and supportive, showing up for my events and celebrating me in ways I never experienced from my own family. So, when I got a promotion at work, Jamie's parents sent flowers to my office, and when I published my first research paper, his sister actually framed the first page and gave it to me as a gift. These gestures were so new to me that I honestly had no idea how to react at first. When Jamie popped the question last year after we'd been together for 3 years, we dove into planning our wedding. Honestly, I couldn't picture my parents being there without somehow turning it into something about Neil. I had this image in my head of him causing a scene during our vows or my mom dashing out during our first dance because Neil texted that he needed something. Jamie and I talked it over for weeks and finally decided not to invite my parents or my brother. It wasn't a decision I made lightly. I spent countless nights lying awake, questioning if I was being petty or vindictive. But in the end, I wasn't ready to risk looking out at the ceremony and seeing empty seats where my parents should be, or worse, watching them leave because Neil suddenly needed all the attention. Jamie was totally behind me, but he also made it clear he'd be just as supportive if I changed my mind. We settled on a fairly intimate wedding with about 80 people, mainly Jamie's family and our friends from all parts of our lives. I invited my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins but asked them to keep it on the down low with my parents or Neil. Most of them got it, they'd seen how things were over the years. The wedding turned out just how I wanted, beautiful and laid back. Jamie's family was amazing. His dad walked me down the aisle, his mom helped me get ready, and his sisters were my bridesmaids. My grandparents even had a dance with me, telling me how proud they were. For once, I had a special day that wasn't hijacked by someone else's issues. Things took a turn when my parents found out about the wedding from some photos my cousin posted on social media. I was bombarded with angry texts and voicemails within hours. My mom called me ungrateful, saying, "You've always resented your brother for things he can't control," and my dad accused me of publicly humiliating them. According to them, I'm an attention-seeking drama queen punishing them for being good parents to a sick child. Hurting my parents wasn't what I wanted, but I also didn't want my wedding to be another event spoiled by the same dynamics that have marred all my important life moments. Jamie thinks I did the right thing, though some family members feel I should have given my parents a chance to be there. Ever since the wedding, I've been second-guessing myself, wondering if I made the right call or if I've permanently messed up my relationship with them. Part of me feels guilty, but another part thinks I'm justified, given their history of putting Neil's needs, often questionable, above everything else in my life. In an unexpected twist, a lot of people reached out about my post, and some suggested Neil's situation might be related to something called medical abuse by proxy. This was a totally new concept to me, but it's definitely got me thinking. Things escalated after my original post. My parents claimed Neil was hospitalized from stress over being left out of the wedding, saying he had such bad anxiety it affected his breathing, so they rushed him to the ER. Meanwhile, my cousin Kay spotted him at a baseball game the same day, having a blast with his friends, laughing and drinking it up. I found this out when Kay called to talk about the wedding fallout. Jamie's mom, who's been a pediatric nurse for over 30 years, tried to smooth things over. She called my mom to see if they could work out a post-wedding get-together involving my parents and Neil. During their chat, she gently pointed out that Neil's supposed health issues didn't quite match up with his active lifestyle, given his weekend hikes, sports leagues, late nights out, and recently running a 10K, as plastered all over his social media. My mom wasn't having any of it and hung up on her. Then she called Jamie's sister to complain about the interference. This drama made me recall something I'd almost forgotten from high school. I had saved up for ages for a homecoming dress, spending more on it than I'd ever spent on clothes because I was up for homecoming court. But the night of the dance, while getting ready, Neil suddenly had bad stomach pains, and my parents rushed him to the ER, leaving me to wait around in my dress for hours, just in case they got back in time. So, I was just sitting there endlessly checking my phone, when my date finally gave up and decided to hit the dance without me. I ended up missing the whole homecoming court ceremony. Turns out, my diagnosis wasn't something serious like appendicitis or a bowel obstruction, it was just gas. And the kicker? It could have been handled with some over-the-counter meds. By the time I got home, it was way too late to head out, and my dress stayed in the closet with the tag still on. It never made its debut. Then there's my aunt, who called me out for supposedly embarrassing the family by not inviting my parents to my wedding. But after we chatted for a while about all the stuff that went down over the years, she finally admitted, "Your mom has always made everything about Neil." She talked about this one family reunion 3 years ago when I had just gotten a big promotion at work, leading a new research team. I tried to share my news over dinner, but my mom shrugged it off like it was no big deal and quickly changed the subject to how Neil had landed a part-time gig at a local grocery store. My aunt said she'd noticed this pattern for years but never spoke up. After my wedding, Jamie's family threw a little get-together for relatives who couldn't make it to the big day. During dinner, my father-in-law stood up and gave a toast. He went on about how proud they were to have me in the family and even mentioned some of my achievements, both academic and professional, that he admired. Honestly, I was almost overwhelmed because I'm not used to being recognized like that. It felt strange to have someone applaud my hard work instead of dismissing it or changing the subject. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything and figure out what kind of relationship, if any, I want with my parents. Jamie's been super supportive, reminding me that focusing on our happiness for our wedding day wasn't selfish, especially considering my parents' history. His family has had my back even as some of my relatives keep saying I should apologize for not inviting my folks to the wedding. For now, I've muted their messages and I'm taking some time to process everything. It's been an emotional roller coaster these past couple of weeks, and I need some space to sort out my feelings without the constant barrage of accusations and guilt trips. Update 2. So, it's been about a month since I last updated and a lot has happened. I met up with my cousin Kay for coffee yesterday. She's been one of the few family members who has always backed up my wedding decision. During our chat, she dropped a bombshell. Apparently, Neil used to exaggerate or fake his symptoms for attention. When they were teens, Neil let it slip at a family gathering that he would deliberately stir up drama on days when I had important stuff going on because he was jealous of the attention I got. He said our parents would instantly believe him, so it became a bit of a game to see what he could get away with. Kay didn't tell me this back then because she didn't want to get between siblings, but after the whole wedding situation, she felt I needed to know. The real shocker came when Kay showed me some text messages from my mom, sent the week before our wedding. In them, my mom was plotting to create some distraction at the wedding, even before they knew they weren't invited. She was worried about Neil needing extra support on my big day and mentioned the possibility of him feeling unwell during the ceremony to keep the focus on what really matters. Reading those messages was like a gut punch. They confirmed everything I had suspected but didn't want to admit. After seeing the texts, Kay shared them with some relatives who had criticized me. Many have since apologized, including my uncle, who confessed he'd noticed the favoritism over the years but didn't think it was his place to step in. Kay and I spent hours chatting about other childhood incidents that now make more sense with this clarity. Like the time Neil mysteriously sprained his ankle at a family picnic on the same day I was supposed to perform a choir solo. Or when I got a scholarship to attend a prestigious summer science program, but had to miss it because of another one of Neil's sudden health flare-ups. When I suggested they drop me off and I'd take a bus home, they said it was irresponsible and that family needs to stick together during health crises. I've tried reaching out to Neil directly, but he's not responding to my messages. Kay thinks he may be feeling guilty and defensive after she confronted him about the texts. She told him she was disappointed that he. So, there's been a lot going on with my family lately, especially around my wedding. My brother got upset and accused my friend of siding with me instead of the family, which was pretty rough. Thankfully, Jamie, my partner, has been my rock through all of it. He keeps reminding me that the drama isn't my fault and our wedding should be about us, not about dealing with my brother's drama. Jamie's mom suggested I try therapy to sort out everything, and I'm seriously considering it. After years of second-guessing myself, it's almost a relief to realize I wasn't making things up. Yesterday, my dad left me a voicemail blaming me for splitting up the family and hurting my brother Neil by being selfish. He said a good daughter would apologize, but I haven't replied. My friend Kay mentioned she's had to step back from some toxic family members for her mental health, and maybe that's what I need to do too, even though it feels tough right now. Right now, I'm just focusing on settling into married life with Jamie and finding joy in our new chapter. It's wild to think that what I once thought were normal family dynamics was actually all about neglect and manipulation. I'm trying to get used to accepting appreciation without feeling guilty or expecting it to be taken away. Speaking of updates, so much has happened in the past 2 months. Out of nowhere, Neil emailed me yesterday. I wasn't expecting it since he ghosted my previous attempts to reach out. His email was surprising. He apologized for years of messing with my head and actually supported my decision not to invite our parents to the wedding. He admitted he had been part of a toxic family pattern, which put his supposed medical needs above everything else. Turns out, Neil has been in therapy for anxiety and depression, and it's helping him face our family's unhealthy dynamics. Apparently, as a kid, he noticed being sick was the only way our parents showed real emotion. What started as little exaggerations about his asthma turned into a manipulation pattern he couldn't break, even when he realized what was happening. Our parents would shower him with attention and treats when he was sick. By high school, he'd fake being ill automatically whenever he felt insecure or saw me getting positive attention. When Kay showed Neil texts from our mom about planning a crisis during my wedding, it was like a wake-up call for him. Seeing our mom scheming to disrupt my wedding made him realize how deep the problem went. He acknowledged our parents never valued my achievements and hoped we could have a real sibling relationship without their dysfunction getting in the way. He mentioned regretting certain incidents, like pretending to be sick during my important events. What hit me was his understanding of how our parents' actions hurt both of us differently, him by making him rely on being sick for attention, and me by neglecting my accomplishments. Neil's working with his therapist to create healthier relationships and find self-worth that's not tied to illness or crises. Unfortunately, when our parents found out Neil had apologized to me, they discovered the email on a shared computer. They threatened to cut off his financial support if he sided with me. Despite graduating with a business degree 3 years ago, Neil still relies on them financially. He lives in an apartment they pay for and drives a car they bought. He works part-time at a friend's startup that isn't making money yet. Despite their threats, Neil seems determined to break free from their control. He's looking for a full-time job and plans to move to a cheaper apartment he can afford on his own. He asked if we could meet for coffee to talk more, and I'm thinking about it. I shared Neil's email with Jamie, who's supportive but cautious. He suggested meeting Neil in a public place first and taking things slow. We'll see where it goes from there. On another note, Jamie and I are moving to Boston next month for his new job at a research institution, which feels like perfect timing to leave the family chaos behind. I've snagged a position at a biotech firm that's a great fit for my research background. Neil said he wants to visit us once we're settled. As for my parents, I've been ignoring their attempts to reach out recently. So, they've been trying to get in touch with me, swinging between yelling accusations and crying for us to make up. It's always all about their feelings and Neil's alleged decline in health, never once admitting how they might have contributed to this mess or how their actions have impacted me for years. Huge shout out to everyone who commented and shared their own stories. It's been a real eye-opener to understand that this isn't how normal families act and that I was right to keep my wedding day drama-free. I'm still working through all this and trying to shake off the guilt for putting my foot down, but I'm doing way better now than when I first shared my story here.